Come on, kitty. You need to use this room for something. You're moving out in 2 weeks. What about subscriber special? Wow, 70,000. I should acknowledge it. I mean, I didn't want to do one until 75,000, but do something that's not South Park related. Do something that's not South Park related. Okay, I think I got something. Here we go. Hi, I'm Kitty Monk, and I'm here to talk to you about shows I will never review. Probably. There's no specific. Sorry. No, I'm a YouTuber and I get requests to review various shows all the time. There's even shows I really want to review. However, I'll probably never get to them for one reason or another. Maybe there's no audience for it. Maybe I can't write a script. Maybe I feel I'm not qualified to do it. Maybe I have stuff to do, and the video would interfere with that. Hey, I got a life. Also, most other YouTubers I watch make lists like this, and as we all know, a foremost rule about YouTube is you have to steal an idea and make it your own. Unless you're Watch Mojo where you just steal ideas. I'm watching you. So we're gonna count down the top 10 shows I'll probably never get to review, in no specific order. Before we begin, I need to make 2 things clear. 1, do not take this list as a definite. Things might change one day. I just want to reward you guys by getting my thoughts out there. 2nd, whenever I bring something up, my one rule is I have to say what topic I would want to talk about. After all, I've likely been thinking of doing these shows for a while. I should have at least something on the table. Since many of these ideas will likely never get made, I might go beyond just including characters like usual. And this time around, I don't think I'll do an honorable mention section. I don't think I need it. This entire list is basically honorable mentions. Sounds good? Okay, let's begin. Starting with... Number 10. Broadway musicals. Yes, I know it's probably not a show in the definite sense, but they still count as shows. Duh. I've been pretty open about the fact I'm a huge theater nerd. I mean, from my house, it's roughly a 20-minute train ride to Manhattan. Maybe it was only inevitable. Usually, if I think I can't review something, or I want to test the waters for future videos, I do the next best thing. Include references. Remember my Pacifica Northwest video? That was just 40 minutes of musical jokes. Musicals are a big part of my life. I've never related to a character as much as I have to Lydia Dietz, and I've even started wearing safety pin hair clips because that's what she wears in the musical. When I had a nasty depression spell last year, the thing that got me out of it was going to see Beetlejuice on Halloween, crying like a baby during home, and stage touring after. I would love to talk about musicals on my channel and give the spotlight, pun not intended, to my favorite shows. The problem... well, musicals aren't exactly my niche. Mine is cartoons. Imagine, say, being a YouTuber who talks about kayaking, and suddenly you make a video about pranks. Why hasn't anybody watched it? It's such a conundrum. Besides, I don't know how I'd go about making a video like that without breaking fair use, or even how I would be able to gather footage. Hey guys, guess what? I'm making a Hadestown video. Too bad you'll be looking at pictures the whole time because they couldn't negotiate the salaries necessary to make a pro shoot. See, if that were the case, you could just go on Wikipedia or go buy a ticket and see the show yourself. You really should though, it's like really good. Still, if I had to pick one show to talk about, I'd probably choose Beetlejuice, since it's my favorite musical and I'd be the most equipped to discuss it. The topic would likely be either about Beetlejuice as a character, like him being alone, how the show talks about mental health and does a much better job at it than the movie, how it could work as a standalone show in the present day, because there was that 90s cartoon, or even, this might be controversial, but my problems with the musical itself. I love the musical, if you couldn't already guess. However, I must be willing to admit, I think that most everything in Act 2 is rushed. From the friendship that suddenly develops between the main leads, to the Maitland suddenly gaining courage, to Lydia suddenly accepting Delia despite being so despondent that the thought of Delia becoming her stepmother made her wanna unalive herself. Like, the only things I thought were not rushed was Lydia making up with her father and going to the netherworld. It may be even BJ coming around to liking humans. But seriously, when they're in the netherworld, Lydia tells Charles, "Daddy, BJ is the loneliest guy I've ever met." Dude, you knew him for 5 minutes. And before he helped you kick your father out, you pushed him off a roof because, as far as you know, he was a needy perv. I guess other shows I wouldn't mind reviewing would also be Heathers or Mean Girls, since I know those two are especially popular. For Heathers, I'd probably talk about how the musical misunderstands Heather McNamara by labeling her as a victim, not somebody who is all too comfortable to bully others, until the same happens to her. Oh, kind of like Scara. It's not that it couldn't work, it's just that they didn't get their priorities straight. And as for Mean Girls, I'd say it does the same thing with Janice by having a song cheering her on for using people like pawns and causing chaos. You know, the thing we're supposed to hate Regina for? Oh well. To the tour! Or the movie. They're actually recording it in Jersey. You know, I was almost an extra. Number 9, live action shows. This one I get requests for all the time. Kitty, review live action shows. Kitty, review live action shows. Do it or I'll blow up this building full of kittens and Franciscan monks. Mwahaha, 'tis only poetic. Okay, that's not a real comment. Yet it goes to the same effect. However, if you couldn't guess already, I probably won't be reviewing live action shows anytime soon. I mean, I did try way back when. During my Disenchantment days, I reviewed The Good Place, since I like that show, and their all-time terrible episode, Chip Driver. Since for a show where each episode is necessary, that episode is actually super skippable outside of the framing device. And I'll just come out and say it, Michael trying and failing to rehabilitate bad Janet the same way he did with normal Janet, that's what the episode should have been about. Plus they suddenly forget they're telling Brent a lie for what reason exactly? To continue preaching?
So, no best place?
Oh, no best place?
Oh, Brent, you big white oaf.
Too bad nobody watched the video. But what about other shows? I'd really rather not. Still, I said it in my SpongeBob video, but if I got the chance, I'd probably talk about either Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, since I'm huge fans of both. For Game of Thrones, likely all of the reasons that went wrong with the final few seasons. As for character journeys, I'd choose Sansa, since she's my favorite of the Starks. Or Ramsay Snow, because I love his name and he is my favorite character. As for House of the Dragon, probably why nobody is good or bad, or why they had that scene with Rhaenys and the Green Council, something that did not happen in the books. Heck, maybe even everybody gushing about Rhaenyra in episode 10. As for characters, I'd either do Helena because I like the changes the show made to her, Aemon for the same reason, or even Alicent. I love Alicent in the show, even if she's hella gullible. Hey, it's not to say I haven't had ideas for other live action shows. Before I firmly got settled into cartoons, there were many scripts that never went past the recording stage. Top 10 worst Vampire Diaries episodes. Top 10 best Vampire Diaries episodes. Top 10 worst How I Met Your Mother episodes that aren't the finale. Top 10 best How I Met Your Mother episodes. Even top 10 things that went wrong with Game of Thrones. Wow, that's a lot of top 10 lists. But I probably won't be doing live action shows or movies. Can't, won't, sorry, wound. Maybe one day, just not now. Oh well, what's the thing we say to the god of death? Not today. Number 8, Transformers. This one is tricky. Just to cover all my bases, anything Transformers related. Sorry, Lilypad. Last year, I made a video on Transformers Prime and the character Knockout. He was my favorite Transformers Prime character next to Shockwave. It premiered on the same day American women lost a fundamental right. but it was still a fun video to make, and it's still one of my personal favorites overall. Fun fact, I even gathered all of the footage when I was getting one of my tattoos done. At first, that video did not get a lot of views, but slowly but surely, knocked out past the Dagmar threshold, which means it got more than 50,000 views. It's a benchmark I use to determine what shows I'm allowed to review full time, as my first video to get more than 50,000 was on Queen Dagmar, and it was what convinced me that YouTube could actually work out. As for Knockout, the success got me excited because I've wanted to talk about Transformers Prime since probably high school. Then I tried to replicate the results with Starscream, who goes by a variety of names, my favorite being Screamerina George. That video did not get enough views, and worse yet, it got a copyright claim from Hasbro, meaning it can't make money. Sucks too. I had a few other characters I really wanted to talk about. Shockwave, Megatron, Wheeljack, Nico, even RC. So if you ever wonder why I don't talk about Transformers Prime anymore, that's why. It's not that I don't want to, it's that I'm unable to. Hey, is Emperor Kumquat still making videos? Or accepting collab requests? However, I've already talked about Transformers Prime before, so I'll be applying this section to other Transformers shows. The new one on Paramount Plus, the stupid, confusing Bumblebee spinoff, Beast Wars, the Unicron trilogy, etc. I've also gotten a few requests to talk about Transformers Animated, which I would be excited to do. I loved that show as a kid. It really should have gotten like one more season, just to close things off. However, I likely never will discuss it for the same reason as Transformers Prime. Few people will watch it, and I'll probably get more negative attention from Hasbro. If I were to discuss a character, I'd probably do one on Shockwave, because I remember watching that twist as an 8-year-old and it really got me. Or maybe one on Ratchet and how he was closed off from everything for so long. Heck, maybe even one on Wasp and how he went Nutter Butters, or even this version of RC is actually voiced by the original RC.
Who's RC? Where are we?
As for my other viewers, totally recommend you watch Transformers Animated. Come on, Bulkhead is in it, and he sounds like a certain pink tubby fellow.
Nobody calls me Tubby!
Moving on. Number 7. Dave Willis shows. Kitty, who's Dave Willis? Have you ever watched Steven Universe?
They're illegal aliens? What? You couldn't even marry an American?
Then you've heard of this guy. You just don't know his name. To cut to the chase, let's say Aqua Teen Hunger Force and Squidbellies. Both shows I love, but let's be honest, they air on Adult Swim. And anything on Adult Swim that isn't Rick and Morty or Smiling Friends has an audience the size of Hank Hill's urethra. See, I finally made that joke. Anyhow, let's discuss what they're about. Aqua Teen follows 3 foodstuffs who live in South Jersey. Not Central Jersey because it does not exist. They go on crazy adventures, sometimes with their next door neighbor, Steven's Uncle Andy.
Own up to what? It is obvious to you and me and the nose on my face that she is a gold digger.
No, it's Carl Brutana Nanalewski. I hope I'm saying that right. Think of it as a cheaper predecessor to many cartoons nowadays. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this show inspired Regular Show. Much like Regular Show, things will start off super normal and then get really wacky and crazy. In one episode, Meatwad wants a dog. So Frylock makes one out of a computer in Carl's dirty pool. They name him
Banana.
only for the dog to be hungry like the wolf.
Tonight, you.
Doing whatever he can to get Carl alone and his pants down. Like in one part where he pulls a Little Shop of Horror and he calls Carl pretending to be Frylock.
Think you could back that up? Listen to this guy. Could back that up. I got bruises to prove it.
Yes, there are problems in media for stuff like guys getting harassed or assaulted. And I will admit, I don't like it even in most shows I watch. Here, It just works. It's so over the top that it not only crosses the line twice, but bends it over backwards and whispers in its ear, "Tonight, you." This show was the longest running Adult Swim show for a good many years, and I can see why. It's both cheap to produce, and it had a lot of guest stars, like Patton Oswalt.
Ezekiel! I am Ezekiel! That is me! Ezekiel is I am!
Beyond the lack of recognition, I might not be able to review this show because there really isn't anything to talk about. It's extremely episodic, and it's the type of show where when, say, somebody dies in one episode, next time you see them, they're alright. Like, the main leads have probably each died at least 5 times. Continuity is a foreign concept, and you're really not meant to question anything. However, if I did have to pick just one thing, probably the Mooninites, since they're my favorite characters, or Carl, because he has the closest to a storyline. In Season 5, there were a few episodes where the Aqua Teens were imprisoned by their landlord, a vampire named Marcula, because he refused to fix a gas leak. This led to Carl being on his own, and dealing with neighbors that were worse than the leads, including Fred Armisen Robot Man. Plus, debatably, it's also the reason why Cartoon Network went down the tubes, like look up the Boston bomb scare. As for Squidbillies, this one more people want me to talk about, because of the controversy surrounding it. The show follows a group of squids who live in Georgia, because that's where the show is produced. Made in Georgia. The show follows early Kyler, his son Rusty, and their grandmother, Granny. Well, Ruby Jean, but nobody really calls her that. Like Aqua Teen, this show is violent, with little to no continuity. Think of it like King of the Hill, on moonshine and crystal meth. I like it, and if you wanna turn your brain off type of show, totally recommend. Only problem is you kinda have to be from at least the East Coast to get a lot of the humor. Think of it like the Great North, where it's only really funny if you live there, or have been there, or know people from there. Topic-wise, I'd likely do a video on Unknown Hinson, Early's voice actor. He got into trouble during 2020 because of the BLM protests, ranting against Dolly Parton, and as a result, for the final season, he was replaced as a voice actor by Tracy Morgan.
My abusive threats and borderline racist musings are finally protected, just as all forefathers intended.
You should really be on Rick and Morty. Many fans hated the show for this, when honestly, I didn't really care. I mean, yes, Early probably wasn't as funny anymore, but the show did not really suffer that much. Besides, I like the irony. And question, how does a voice actor not being there influence the writing of a show? Unless the show is based around improv, they normally don't write scripts. Really, I wouldn't be surprised if, except for the first episode, most of it was written before he got fired. Besides, the series finale is one of the best in recent years.
Should we do something?
We are doing something, Denny. We're letting Rusty and his family have a life.
It's too bad they don't get enough attention. That would make for a great discussion topic. Or maybe I can do a versus. Like, why does King of the Hill work better than this show? To me, it's because King of the Hill shows you all sides of Texas and the Deep South. Texas might personally be one of my least favorite states, even if I can never get Whataburger or Luby's. Yet the show made it seem so welcoming and friendly. I can understand why Hank is the way he is and why he thinks that way, even if I don't always agree with him. Yes, the show tends to use stereotypes, especially in the later seasons, but that just works to their advantage. Squidbillies is funny, it just sucks watching a show full of inside jokes. An inside joke my Yankee jersey behind is not in on. Number 6, the Avatar franchise. Not just the original show, but the entire franchise. This includes Korra, the movie, and any potential spin-offs. Avatar is another show I get a lot of requests for. It's amazing, it deserves all the credit, and it's probably one of the best cartoons of all time. I just never saw a need to review it. I mean, I love it, I watched every episode of it when I was a kid, and I was sort of confused when Sozin's Comet aired and no other episode came afterwards. Hey, I was a kid. I didn't know that was the finale. It's just, everything that's been said about the show has already been said. Zuko's arc is awesome. Iroh is the uncle everybody wants but can never have. Season 3 should have been 2 seasons, not 1. Azula is amazing and she should not be redeemed. As for Korra, I don't have a real opinion on it. I tried to watch a few episodes and I couldn't get past season 1. I do know what happens, it's just not my cup of tea. Granted, I follow most mainstream Korra opinions. Yes, Korra shouldn't have burst in as a kid saying,
"I'm the Avatar! You gotta deal with it!"
Yes, the love triangle sucks. Yes, the world building kinda feels weird. It's like season 2 of Chucky, where they just throw in curveballs because, oh, it's cool and it's different. However, I wouldn't mind watching the show for one discussion topic: Aang being a terrible father. Many people dislike how Aang was a neglectful father, ignoring his daughter and oldest son, yet doting on Tenzin. Hey, maybe it's because Tenzin is gonna catch Spider-Man one day, or Bill Cipher, or yellow M&Ms. Well, I don't approve of it. I can understand why. Aang grew up among air nomads. Outside of caretakers like Monk Gyatso, he was basically on his own since birth. Then again, the one thing I wish the show would mention is, how do air nomad family units work? Like, ignoring Tenzin's family because he's like the only one. How is it supposed to work like 100 years ago, back when they still thrived? Is it like the time of mating from Anthem, where they don't have normal relationships, they just get together when the time's right to make babies? Do couples exist, yet they just give up their children? Are there air nomad nuclear families? Wow, this is a rant and a half. Anyhow, I could make a similar video on Toph, perhaps to contrast her with Aang. She's kinda like Greg Universe to me. Wanted better for her children, better than she had. She just went too far in the other direction. Shady Do-Rags, or the Round Table, for any video essayist watching, I got a topic for ya. Number 5, Phineas and Ferb. Ferb, I know what we're gonna do today. Try to ascertain why Jojen Reed got such a terrible ending. Seriously, even his actor hates it. I'm not even joking. It's no secret that the one key to my success has been reviewing Disney cartoons. The Owl House showed me that I could talk about something other than Disenchantment. Before South Park, my go-to show was Star vs. the Forces of Evil. And that's when my channel evolved from a hobby to basically a career. As a result, I have gotten requests to review other Disney shows. I thought about doing this section on Wander Over Yonder, yet I think it's better to talk about Phineas and Ferb here. Like, what am I supposed to say about Wander Over Yonder? That nobody's gonna watch it? That Disney mistreated it? I don't know. Look, it's not that I hate Phineas and Ferb, it's just that I don't particularly enjoy it. I think it's good, there's no denying that. I just don't like how every episode is the exact same. Like, that can get to be very tiring very quickly. I much prefer Milo Murphy's Law. Sure, kinda like Phineas and Ferb, it follows the same plot, as in Milo tries to do something, only bad luck happens, but it's different. It's not paint by numbers. Phineas and Ferb isn't all bad, though. I like Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated and Perry the Platypus. I can't do the noise. Really, these two should have had their own spin-off. It would have been like Frasier. I think their plots are the most intriguing and funny, and I like how Doofenshmirtz broke the cycle of bad parenting, even if Vanessa's relationship with Ferb is freaking weird. I know I gave an exception for Hand Banana, I'm not doing it here. They're minors and it's gross. Number 4, Dead End Paranormal Park. Is it just me, or is Alex Brightman getting typecasted as villains and or anti-heroes? In Beetlejuice, he's Beetlejuice. Duh. In Hell of a Boss, he plays an evil robot, and later, a cyborg and an MC, who's in a secret committed relationship with the personification of lust. In Wicked, he played Bach, who started off as a protagonist only to become an antagonist. In Matilda, he played a terrible father, Mr. Wormwood. In School of Rock, he was Dewey Finn, a complete and total anti-hero and a bum. In Law and Order, he was a rapist who lusted after Eurydice from Hadestown, or the woman who plays Eurydice. In the Goosebumps album, he played the Phantom, who everybody views as a villain, spoiler alert. In this show, he plays Pugsley. Oh, Pugsley seems different. He's nice, a total cinnamon roll stuffed into the body of a pug. But wait, he's not just Pugsley, he's also Temeluchus, the Demon King.
Do not give orders to the great Temeluchus.
And as a piece of Temeluchus is a part of Pugsley, that means Pugsley is part demon! Okay, long rant over. We'll stop leg humping, let's get into the show. Dead End is a cartoon that honestly should have been the new Steven Universe, only it had the misfortune to air on Netflix. The show follows Barney and Norma, who work at Phoenix Parks, a Dollywood meets Disneyland type of theme park based around film star Pauline Phoenix. The park is full of all kinds of goblins and ghouls, and the two are charged with guarding the portal to other levels of existence. What makes the show great is the leads break a lot of barriers in terms of representation. Barney's a trans man, which they outright say,
"I'm trans, Norma, and everyone at school knows, and everyone at home knows, and being here, it's like a whole new place."
And he left home due to feeling his parents did not stand up to him in front of his grandmother. Meanwhile, Norma's autistic, and they go out of their way to show that not all autistic people are Sheldon Cooper. And several characters are either gay, non-binary, or they're played by trans actors. Sagan is trans and played by MJ Rodriguez. MJ Rodriguez is from Newark. I'm from Newark. Sheila's from Newark. Newark Pride. And Pauline Phoenix is played by drag queen legend Miss Coco Peru. I love this show, in spite of the occasional problem. While I think Barney is a great trans icon, I think his boyfriend Logs is so boring, and they could have done more with him or given him more of a character. Really, the love song between these two is like the worst part of the musical episode. They did try to give him something to do in that episode with Norma, it just never really went anywhere. Then there's the pacing. Some episodes, especially season 1, feel really slow, and honestly, the show should have been 11 minutes, not 22. While season 2 was fine on its own, season 1 really felt like a chore to get through. We all complained that Steven Universe should have been 22 minutes. This show was like the total opposite. Besides that, I wish they leaned more into Pugsley and Temeluchus, in season 1 at least. The only time they ever actually do is in the musical episode, where Temeluchus takes advantage of Pugsley's rage to manipulate him into giving back control. I wish they made the mental battles more of a struggle, instead of just implying it in 1 or 2 episodes. Maybe Pugsley could keep it a secret from Barney, or switch between him and Temeluchus at will, and only Courtney knows or something like that. Or maybe Temeluchus is calling Zagan on the side or whatever. There were plenty of opportunities, like the game show episode. Honestly, the reason I haven't reviewed this show is because I can't write a script. Really, that's it. It's not that I'm afraid of controversy or that I won't get any views, it's that I can't write a script to save my life. I've tried and tried, but nothing happens. Speaking of views, I wouldn't care about that. I probably would have made it a Tuesday video, since there's no way in heck I can make the video longer than 20 minutes at most. If I ever did get to review the show, I'd probably either talk about Pugsley or Courtney, since they were the two characters I always tried to write about, just never could. Maybe a Pauline Phoenix video. She is evil, don't get me wrong, it's just that her goals feel weirdly relatable or sympathetic. She's not a good person, yet many of us can understand the feeling of trying hard to stay young and have a legacy. It's just that her methods are what make her evil. And since I made that video about SpongeBob, I feel a little more confident writing one about Norma, as an autistic character. In that video, I'd probably repeat a few points I made. Norma's great in terms of rep, but I don't get why they never say she's autistic, all things considered. Until I did research into the show, I thought Norma just had a plain old anxiety disorder, especially considering the fear episode. Speaking as someone with anxiety, I thought the idea of having a mental illness that makes you scared all the time about anything and everything would be the perfect recipe to overcome a demon who feeds on fear. It could parallel that moment where Barney confides in Norma. Too bad Netflix just had to cancel the show. Gourd. At least Courtney's on Young Sheldon. Would Ida? Number 3, Pokemon. Kinda like Transformers, it's not just one particular region, but the whole damn show. Another thing you might not know about me is I love Pokemon. Love Pokemon. Come on, it's ripe for fanfics. I've loved it since the Diamond and Pearl days. I thought Pokemon XY was fantastic, and while I am a little upset that Ash and Team Rocket are being retired, I can't wait to see what else they have in store. However, there's a reason I don't talk about it even though I have more than enough material. International laws. If you aren't on YouTube as a content creator, Nintendo and their cronies are one of the worst companies out there, along with Disney, Viacom, Hasbro, and Universal. See, in the US at least, I'm able to make these videos because of something called fair use. If I use footage of a cartoon for the purposes of parody or criticism, I'm able to get away with it. What's important to note is fair use is a defense, not a right. I just bring it up because there's a lot of confusion about this. See, if a company took me to court and wanted to sue me over, say, this video, I could claim to a judge that I was using fair use, and a judge would be more likely to look at things in my favor over the dude who posted an entire movie he did not make and cried, "Oh, fair use." However, not every country has fair use laws. Japan is one of those countries, and as a result, Nintendo, ShowPro, whatever, often do major takedowns of videos that feature gameplay or footage, as they think you're stealing their content. Like, part of me is a little nervous just making this section because I don't want them to flag this whole video. They even took down Super Mario Logan, who had almost 10 million subscribers, because he was using plush versions of their characters. Really, being a Pokemon YouTuber is a super risky gambit, especially considering the controversy that was the Nintendo Partner Program, where they would take a huge portion of your earnings. I applaud reviewers who are still active, especially Lumio's trainer Zach. I wonder if he's open to making collabs with non-Pokemon YouTubers. Nintendo has loosened some of their restrictions in the past few years. It's just a game I don't feel like playing. If I were to make a video on anything Pokemon related, it'd probably be about Dawn. I know her the best out of Ash's female friends, and I like her arc of failing and overcoming those failures to place second at the Grand Festival, even if, let's be honest, she really should have won. If she wins, what's gonna change? Have her achieve her dream, but think it's not enough. There's other regions, other places to compete, and more opportunities. It's not to say I hate the others. I thought Serena was great, they just should have introduced the idea of showcases earlier, or made them more challenging than Eevee runs away for 5 minutes. Oh god, I hated her Eevee. And its stupid voice. Thank Arceus it evolved. In terms of rivals, Paul would probably make for a good video, especially the idea of whether or not his philosophy is correct. Or heck, even Gladion. He's my favorite out of Ash's rivals, and I hate what they did to Lucille. Heck, maybe even a video about how I disliked Pokemon Journeys, because they breezed through Ash's development and basically ignored Galar. For a show all about journeying to the point where it's in the title, I think they should have been reminded that life is about the journey, not the destination. and to distract us, they would use fan favorites and copious amounts of nostalgia. However, because I'm going on the convention circuit this year, I will be allowed to discuss anime without fear of getting in trouble. With PuchiCon, I am doing 2 panels on Pokemon and 1 on Attack on Titan, if you're so interested. At least, there's always Chin Pokemon. Number 2, YOLO. Dude, I love this show. It's probably my favorite Adult Swim show at the moment. It's better than Royal Crackers. If you're unaware, Michael Cusack, co-creator of Smiling Friends, did not just make Smiling Friends, he also made this show, along with Koala Man and Bushworld. I think this show was made before Smiling Friends, I'm not too sure. Regardless, it's hilarious. It's gotten me so interested in Australia that I kinda want to get a passport just so I can go to Wollongong. The show follows 2 young adults, Sarah and Rachel, as they travel around Australia and get into crazy scenarios. Think a gender-bent version of Beavis and Butthead. If the show made the point that Butthead was toxic and Beavis would be better off without him, but Butthead actually learned from the experience, and it was mixed with regular show and Aqua Teen. Like, there's one episode where Rachel has to go find a bathroom and somehow ends up in a dimension where everybody parties hardy. And they use that to talk about toxic friendships. While season 1 is mostly passable outside of the last 2 episodes, season 2 is really good. Please, CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, I know it's a futile request, but please don't cancel this show. Don't do to it what you did to Joe Pera and 3 Busy Debras and almost did to American Dad. Really, he almost did, look it up. The reason I'll never review it is because it's an Adult Swim show, and like most Adult Swim shows that aren't Rick and Morty, it has a pretty small audience. If I had to pick a topic, I would really want to talk about how it deals with toxic friendships. Both seasons deal with the leads realizing they like each other, but their friendship is holding them back. And when they both get visions of great success, their toxic tendencies get in the way. Rachel could be a dark empress like the vision said. Instead, she commits to a creepy life with a mega Bilby skull and a pile of garbage. Like, it's so funny yet it's so freaking pitiful.
Stop thinking about her. We don't need Sarah. We don't need anybody. We just need each other. Yeah, I guess you're right.
I just wonder, is the skull real? Like, really talking to her after a certain point? I thought she was hallucinating, but with this show, you can't be too careful. Besides, I like the little subplot they included with Lucas's love potion quest. That would make another good video. Especially considering the point I made about Robbie and the Love God. In the pilot episode, we're introduced to Lucas the Magnificent, an old friend of the girls. He helps Sarah dispose of a body in exchange for a kiss. A kiss he does not get.
If I can get a kissy, I won't tell a soul what happened here today.
This causes him to develop a crush on Sarah, which despite the cliffhanger they imply,
I will get my kissy, Sarah. You shall love me one day.
Never really gets followed up on. Like, he's only in like 1 or 2 other episodes after this. In season 2, he becomes a full-fledged main character. He meets a mermaid who tells him there's a way to obtain Sarah's love, become an alchemist, and create a love potion. He spends the season gathering ingredients, only to learn that he's never gonna get Sarah's love without dying, and it's not worth risking his life to force somebody to love him.
Perhaps I am crazy to die for my lady love, but wouldn't you?
No, I wouldn't. That's just stupid.
In the end, he gives up his love and he's willing to be her friend. Take notes, Mabel. Take notes. But none of this compares to the big one. The big number 1. Number 1, Beavis and Butthead. Oh, this one hurts. Like, it really hurts. Like, I'm wearing an AC/DC shirt of Butthead as I review this part. Just to get this out of the way, I am a huge fan of Beavis and Butthead and pretty much anything Mike Judge has ever created or starred in, except for Silicon Valley. Come on, he inspired South Park. Does he go to conventions? I do think the original series itself doesn't get good until season 3, but it's still hilarious, and I think the revivals themselves are great, barring small nitpicks here and there. The newer one, for example, often reuses the same jokes or flanderizes the leads a little too much, while mostly ignoring the legacy characters, or ignoring the fact that Beavis and Butthead themselves technically are not of this world. They're time travelers. On the bright side, this show and King of the Hill almost redeemed Texas in my eyes. However, there's a little problem. Beavis and Butthead isn't as big as it once was. It's more along the lines of a cult classic. Back in the 90s, it was probably as big as Rick and Morty is today, if not bigger. Come on, when did Rick and Morty get their own theatrical movie starring Demi Moore and Bruce Willis that broke box office records? It was like Family Guy, that forbidden show that aired late that parents hated. It even got a hearing before the Senate, which inspired the running joke of people getting their names wrong. However, because it was so influential, it helped to kick off the 90s slacker genre. As a result, it's kinda like The Simpsons. Raunchy when it came out, nowadays it's still funny, it's just tame compared to everything else. They walked so South Park could run. Oh, Beavis plays with fire? He might have inspired a kid to burn down his trailer park home and murder his little sister. He really didn't. Look it up. It was just media panic. That's bad and evil. Well, Cartman killed 2 parents, turned them into chili, and fed them to their son just because said son made fun of him. Beyond that, because it never had a proper DVD release, reruns were hard to continue because of all the music videos, and the first revival got cancelled because it did not do well amongst girls, but it did well amongst everything else. It pretty much suffered. And it sucks too, because there'd be so much to talk about. Yes, unlike Aqua Teen, there's actually a discussion topic here. The main one? The idea of whether or not Beavis is a good person. This is a theory that's gotten traction in the last few years, and even the newest movie kind of acknowledges it, when Beavis wants a girlfriend, and Butthead wants the same woman, but as a lay.
Shut up, Butthead! You're the one who drove her away! She said she doesn't understand you, and we talked about spider webs, and you've ruined everything!
In the original show, there were hints here and there that Beavis, if you leave him alone, is good-hearted if a little messed up. And he does honestly mean well when he's not being selfish. He just doesn't know any better, happens to follow the wrong crowd, and does not have a lot of support. There was even a Christmas special that showed if Butthead was never born, Beavis would be a kind-hearted person who volunteers at a soup kitchen. The reason I would want to make a video on this is part of me sees Beavis and Butthead as a cautionary tale on the dangers of codependency. And also I love Beavis. Not as a crush, I just love his character. They would do great things if they were separated, it's just that in some weird screwed up way, they need each other. Meanwhile, the newest revival kinda took a sledgehammer to this theory and supports me. In the episode, Nice Butthead, the school psychologist decides to put Butthead on medication to help curb his aggression.
Do those pills, make you feel different? No. But thank you for asking.
When I started taking medication, this episode became way funnier. After a certain point, you really can swallow pills without a drink. And yes, kind of like Butthead did, I do carry around my pills everywhere I go, just in case I get held up. The problem is, instead of taking the 2 a day like he was told to, he takes enough medicine to kill a blue whale, and becomes Nice Butthead, the total opposite of Cornholio. He's polite, clean, doesn't notice innuendos or outuendos, and favors bananas over nachos. Now this should be a total plus for Beavis. Finally, his best friend views him as a person, and will treat him with respect. Beavis could not be angrier. Not because Butthead probably took so much medicine that he's gonna start foaming at the mouth, but because he's acting like a complete and total dork. Ew, how will he score on the SATs? He complained in the movie that Butthead doesn't understand him. And here it shows that Beavis can't have it both ways. He kind of wants to be abused, just because it's what's familiar to him. It's so ridiculous and tragic that when Butthead's medication wears off and he's back to kicking Beavis in the boy parts, Beavis sees this as an absolute win. Heck, even in the dumpster fire episode, which part of me thinks takes place during the second movie when they're separated, they kinda did something similar. Beavis meets fire, which I'm pretty sure is just a hallucination considering this type of show, but the new episode did have him meet the Buddha, so I'm not sure. The fire promises Beavis that if he works for him and does deeds, he'll make him his special one, his disciple, his protege. Instead of burning people or getting revenge on Butthead, he will run around for exercise, recycle, and write a book report on Call of the Wild. See, even Beavis's own subconscious is telling him to be a good person, and the only thing he can think of is, that's boring. I want to burn stuff. On the bright side, I will be covering this topic at PoochieCon, sort of as a debate. Hopefully this will be fun. What, it's better than the Yelper special. Hopefully this video was.